Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Pluto Sextile or Trine Natal Chiron. Now, this transit may manifest in power, control, transformation, passion, and desire, and probing. This could be in harmony with physical and emotional wounds, and I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. This is not about, really having a passion and desire for physical and emotional wounds, but what it is, it could be about having that passion and desire for healing them. It could be a time where it's a time to transform, and that could being transforming, having the right attitude, in terms of making it could be a transformation in connected with your suffering and trying to whether it could be in your attitude or whatever it might be, your outlook. I mean, if you have transit Pluto in the first house, maybe there's a little bit of transformation going on in your outlook in general, and it may pay dividends in dealing with some kind of physical and or emotional suffering when you have this transit. And it's also a time to look deep into the suffering and understanding, why it may be happening. I have my natal Chiron in Aries in the 12th house. A lot of my suffering, I believe, is due to, it could simply be, not being able to confront hidden adversaries, people that were actually enemies and they were impersonating themselves as friends, or not being aggressive enough in working through limitations and restrictions as some examples, and even just impulsiveness being the self-undoing. And this is a time where you may be able to look deeper into these things and into what is actually causing the actual suffering. Are you hindering yourself to some degree? Is the suffering you're going through? Are you so wound up in it where it's prohibiting you from moving on and things of that nature? And also, I mean, Chiron is the wounded healer, and it can reflect ways in which we help others, in which we can't help ourselves, in which we're unable to help ourselves. And going back to my Chiron and Aries in the 12th house as an example, it's about, I can encourage others pretty easily, I would say, to confront their hidden enemies, the people that are posing as friends to others but really aren't. But I may have trouble and difficulty in doing so myself, or being aggressive, encouraging others to be aggressive and trying to work through their limitations and restrictions. But I may have trouble and difficulty doing this myself. But it's about having the passion and desire to do this for others, and also having a little bit more control, I would say, over your own suffering, at this time. And Chiron is connected, with ineptitude, and it could be an area where we're truly inept in, or it could be something that we just feel inept in, which might, we might have some insecurity. If somebody has an ill Chiron in Gemini, say, it could simply be, it could be someone that doesn't think, either they can assimilate information well enough, or they can't articulate things, or they lack eloquence, or basically, mental agility, things of that nature. And sometimes it could just simply be something that's in someone's mind, and it's really trying to gain power over, the emotional suffering, or I should say, in this case, the ineptitude that one is actually dealing with. It could be trying to improve that particular area in life where one may feel inept. And the thing about this is, it's also just a very positive time to really, to have that, again, the passion, desire to deal with suffering. And it could be a very good time where, Plutonian people, when I say Plutonian people, it could be someone you're in an intimate relationship with, or a shared resources scenario with. It could be somebody that is in a Plutonian profession, such as working in the occult, which includes astrology or insurance, taxes, It could be somebody that works in forensics or investigation, and those people may be beneficial to you in helping you deal with some kind of suffering you may be going through. Um, at this point in time, whether it's on a physical or emotional level, if you have your natal Chiron and Scorpio under the eighth house, it could be a death that you might be going through at this time. If you were left out, some inheritance or some will, and you feel like, it's just a strong blow to you, and you feel like, what did I do to deserve to be left out of it? That could be a time where you could have those Plutonian people be very supportive of you at this time. And the thing about this too is Chiron is about weakness and where we feel weak, and it's tied in with the what I was talking about before with the ineptitude, and where one may feel inept at. If someone has the natal Chiron in Taurus and or the second house, it could have something to do with finances or just general self-worth, or being able to be persistent, persevere through situations. If someone has their natal Chiron in Taurus in the eighth house, as an example, it could be somebody that really has maybe difficulty staying calm and composed in crisis situations, or being somebody that maybe has some kind of difficulty, and it could be it could be persistence and other things associated with the eighth house, such as a shared resources situation, generating money. Maybe I should say generating income for that shared resources situation. One may feel weak because maybe the other person is doing a lot more in that situation than the person in question. And it's also a time to really be able to deal and get a little more control over your deepest pain, at this point in time. And whatever it might be, whether it's connected with something with the home or the family, or love, or something pertaining to love, this is the time to get more control over those matters. And it's a time as well where, again, if you're having this transit, keep in mind that the Chiron is connected with depleted self-esteem. So it may be a time where, if you're dealing with issues of depleted self-esteem, and say you have your natal Chiron in the zodiac sign Cancer and or the fourth house, it could be something, with the home or family. It could be a situation where you might have felt ostracized by your home and family, and it could be a time where you might feel, where you're feeling depleted self-esteem, due to that, based on the Chiron placement, but you may be able to get the support that you truly need in really in coping with it at this time, more so than usual. And that could also apply, if you're any kind of anguish or emotional turmoil you may be dealing with at this time. It's a time where you might be able to get that support in order to deal with it at this time, more so than you ordinarily would. And also, the thing about this too, Chiron is also the key. So if you're trying to find the key, to dealing with, the suffering, and say if your, natal Chiron is in Pisces in the 11th house, as an example, it could be, if you're going through suffering due to deception or betrayal by friends, it could be just simply forgiving those people could be the key to deal with that deepest pain at this time. Now, another way this transit could manifest, it could be very positive for having the passion to deal with the deepest pain. Passion is Pluto, deepest pain Chiron. If the natal Chiron is in Libra in the fourth house, as an example, it could simply be about having a balance and order and peace, which is Libra, in the home and family life, which is the fourth house. Now, it could also be auspicious to get support, which is Pluto, in dealing with physical wounds, which is Chiron. If the natal Chiron is in Leo, for example, it could be something with the heart, the spine, or the upper back. And I would say especially if it falls in the first or sixth house in the natal chart. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, could also be a time where Pluto-related people, and that's what I described before, the people that are in Plutonian professions or somebody that's you're in an intimate or shared, intimate relationship with or a shared resources scenario with, those people can be more in harmony and agreement with how you help and heal others, which is Chiron. If the natal Chiron is in Virgo in the fifth house, as an example, it could be about encouraging them to engage in intellectual and analytical, which is the fifth house, amusement and enjoyment, which is the fifth. I'm sorry, intellectual and analytical is Virgo, and amusement and enjoyment, which is the fifth house. It could be about extrapolating, sports data as another example. Could also be a time where it's propitious for control, which is Pluto, and it could be in matters with depleted self-worth, which is Chiron. If the Chiron is natal Chiron is in Scorpio, it could be dealing with issues with difficulty handling crisis or upheavals, or could be a death or matters pertaining to an insurance or will or an inheritance as some examples. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.